A while ago, I watched a video claiming that turn-based RPGs such as Final Fantasy VII were all rubbish because they're simply too easy. The points brought forward boiled down to the purported fact that as long as you can heal your characters faster than they can take damage, you can never lose, and therefore something, I just don't like the genre. But hold on, if that's the case, then how did I just get utterly destroyed by Genova Life on my 500th playthrough of the game, despite being over-leveled? Well, the thing about deep turn-based combat is it's as much about preparation for battle as it is about the battles themselves, and Final Fantasy VII provides a unique and expansive tool to do just that. Yes, today we're talking about the fantastic Materia system. Let's start by picking apart why I lost to Genova Life, despite being the obvious Final Fantasy expert I am. Maybe a bit of overconfidence. The Materia system is fundamental to the balance of the game in deeper ways than some might realise at first. When I was a kid, in an attempt to turn Cloud into the fighting badass he was portrayed to be, I would slap all of my best materia onto him. Everything from Ultima to Comet to Revive. Then I noticed something. Cloud didn't seem to have anywhere near as much HP as the rest of the party. Come to think of it, Sith seemed to do more damage than him on his normal attacks, and whenever Cloud was hit, he'd take more damage than anyone else in the party. I searched for some sort of hidden status effect and worried that I'd permanently damaged my Cloud, as even at level 99, something just seemed off about his stats. Of course, I eventually realised that every single piece of materia you equip can affect any number of stats, and the more powerful the materia, the bigger the difference. This is usually a negative to things like defense and hit points, and a positive to magic points and magic defense. So whilst the initial instinct might be to equip your team with as much materia as possible throughout the game, upgrading your weapons to ones with the most materia slots as early as possible, I find that it's far better to use some of the weaker weapons that have double and triple materia growth, but far less materia slots. This means you have more of a decision to make on which materia to use and which to group together, now with a much more limited number of linked slots. On the plus side, you gain access to more powerful spells much earlier on. Again, the game's balance kicks in though, as with less materia equipped, your MP pool does not have the increases it usually would from having all that materia, meaning you might have to use an ether here and there to continue using this higher level magic. In earlier Final Fantasy games, you would simply buy more powerful magic from shops as the story progressed. It's not really like that in Final Fantasy VII, but more satisfaction can be gained through levelling up materia through experience in battle, to gain access to those more powerful spells. Buying new materia can be very expensive, but thrifty players can easily get by on what they find, and be rewarded later on when master level materia births a duplicate level 1 materia for you to level all over again. For the really rare materia, this means that without considerable effort, only one copy of it will be used in a playthrough. Again, as a kid, a dungeon such as Cave of the G in Cosmo Canyon took all of my mental strength to get through. Not only would the scary spider-like stingers kill me off quite frequently, but the boss, Gene Attack, would always cause me trouble too. It would take me many attempts to finally beat it. On my recent playthrough, however, not only did I have ample HP to get through the dungeon, where things like poison posed a serious threat before, but I used the added effect materia that you get near the start of the cave, linked to a time materia on Cloud's weapon. At this point you'd probably only have a level 1 time with haste and nothing else, but paired with added effect, Cloud's attacks would inflict slow and stop on most enemies in the cave, including the boss. I trounced Gene Attack, which had given me so much trouble in the past, by ample preparation and understanding of the options available to me. What's that? You can kill the boss by using a single X potion on him. And you do get an X potion right before the fight. Damn 7-year-old me. You might think that what I've described so far harkens back to that complaint of turn-based games or more specifically Final Fantasy VII, being too easy. But this isn't the kind of difficulty level that requires nothing of the player. The kind of ease found in shooters like Call of Duty or Fallout 4, that allows players to breeze through the game without using their brain. Final Fantasy VII only became easier once I contemplated the mechanics of the game, the options afforded to me by the Materia system, and its impact on the characters. Let's compare this to Final Fantasy VIII, overall a far easier game. With just a bit of grinding at the first opportunity, you can unlock a load of game-changing GF abilities, allowing you to equip high-level magic to players and deal massive amounts of damage with boosted GF summon attacks. Not much effort or preparation for a comparatively high gain, and a system that is almost too open in the amount of customizing you can do, down to choosing every single command a character can perform. On the other end of the scale is Final Fantasy IX, where the available moves of each character are completely set, and with one of the least amount of customization available in any Final Fantasy. Time is of the essence for completionists at least, who wish to reach the final area in under 12 hours to get Steiner's ultimate weapon, but without taking the time to grind and equip your players with costly weapon and armour upgrades throughout the game, boss battles can be frustratingly difficult. With less options afforded to the player in terms of preparation, the only option becomes levelling up or buying better equipment, not formulating better strategies. Because in FF9 you're usually wanting to hit with the hardest attacks and magic available every turn, and simply hope that bosses don't use their best attacks too often in return. This could be an argument for how Final Fantasy VII has the best combat system of the three PS1 games, because again, the game's difficulty is based only on your understanding of the Materia system. So Final Fantasy X's Sphere Grid is an amazing tool for freely upgrading your characters, but what actually is it? It's not really a tangible object in the world that the characters talk about as if they are physically putting spheres into it. Similarly, the Guardian Forces of FF8 are a confusing concept, as despite being commonly used even by uninitiated seed candidates, they seem to be very rare. If the mechanics of the game are anything to go by, then a single GF cannot be used by more than one person, but if that's the case, there would have to be hundreds, if not thousands of GFs in existence. Despite this, they're only vaguely referenced and not directly discussed by many characters in the game. Materia is a different beast. It is at the very core of what Final Fantasy VII is about, and is not only explained in detail by various characters, but plays a role in the world's economy and environment. This means that whilst Materia is effective as a gameplay system, it is made all the more immersive and given that much more weight, because it goes hand in hand with the lore and narrative of the game. Most of the population centres of the world display a huge social divide between rich and poor, initiated primarily by the Shinra Corporation, who leech Mako energy from the earth, greedily hoarding it for their own purposes. Mako is the source of Materia, so while Materia has become more abundant due to Shinra's Mako reactors, these are often low quality or synthetic materia developed in a lab, as we learn in the PSP prequel Crisis Core. All materia is expensive, but the most powerful materia springs up from a natural process where Mako energy, or the life stream as it's also known, comes to the surface of the planet. Shinra stop at nothing to take over these areas of land, even burning down whole towns like Coral to set up their reactors, so rare materia is usually kept as an item of incredible value by common folk, such as the Ultima materia found by the girl after the big Materia mission. If you manage to stop the train from derailing and killing innocent people in North Coral, the girl will give you the materia as a reward. Otherwise, Ultima will set you back an extortionate 50,000 gil. FF7 is full of little story beats like this that prop up the importance of materia, not just to the main characters, but all characters in the game. It rules over them, whether they like it or not. Whilst Mako energy has brought better lifestyles to many, such as the people of Calm, by providing them with electricity, there is a danger to using Mako which has parallels to real-life nuclear energy production and its radiation. Overexposure to Mako causes a debilitating poisoning of the mind and body. people lose their ability to speak and walk, and will most likely die from complete immersion in the livestream. This is a brilliant story explanation for one of the gameplay mechanics of Materia, because we know that exposure to Mako can be harmful. Materia is made from concentrated Mako, and when it's equipped on a character, their health points and physical defense go down. That's beautiful world building. There's Yuffie's side quest and her obsession with bringing prosperity to her hometown through stealing Materia, or the world-ending Black Materia itself. The examples of how important Materia is are near endless, far too many to mention here, but not many games tie in their main plot device to a gameplay system with such success as Final Fantasy VII did with Materia. As I mentioned, the Materia system is a tool allowing the player to prepare for battle, so in order for it to be fun, it needs to allow for player expression and creativity. I think it delivers this in spades. Let's recap. Most Materia slots on equipment have 1 to 4 linked pairs, allowing certain Materia to have an effect on whatever it's paired to. The first of these encountered is the All Materia, which allows most magic to be cast on all enemies or party members. I already mentioned the added effect Materia, but it is more versatile than just having one use. As well as allowing you to inflict status effects on enemies when paired on a weapon, if you pair this with Materia on armour slots, you gain defense against the status effects relating to that Materia. The Elemental Materia works in a similar way, adding elemental offense or defense, which can come in handy for fights such as that Genova life boss I talked about. Her attacks are all water based, so pairing Leviathan with Elemental on the armour slot of your primary healer is one strategy of many. Or you could just equip the water ring on a character and become completely invincible. 7-year-old me. So yeah, you can even pair up summon Materia. They're not just for dishing out big damage. A playstyle I tried out on this playthrough was to use the Curse Ring, a recurring Final Fantasy item I usually ignore. It provides huge stat boosts but inflicts death sentence at the start of battle. But pair Odin with added effect and your character is immune. Of course, the more you play and the more Materia you acquire, the more creative options afforded to you. These can play into certain playstyles you might have set up for your characters. For example, I give defensive stat boosts primarily to Barret, meaning the cover Materia is ideal for him. The higher the level of cover, the more often Barret will end up tanking hits for the other characters. But why stop there? With counter-attack Materia, Barret will also hit back for every time he covers, as well as being hit normally. There's also a counter Materia which can be paired, meaning characters can use anything from Bolt to Knights of Round when hit by an enemy. Similarly, Final Attack Materia uses a paired Materia when a character dies. An obvious pairing for this would be the Phoenix Summon, which, after damaging the enemy, revives all party members. It may seem like a cheat, but summons can only be used as many times as their level per battle, so it's not a foolproof strategy. One criticism I could levy at the game in this respect would be the lack of some sort of hidden dungeon with super high level enemies that really push these Materia pairings to the limit. Another new strategy I tried out was pairing added cut to command Materia like Death Blow and Double Cut. The first was a great fit for Tifa, who has a high accuracy mid-game weapon that essentially guarantees Death Blow will hit, when it otherwise would usually miss. Added Cut would guarantee the move would not be wasted in any case, as it adds a normal attack on top of the paired Materia attack. Once Double Cut is leveled up, it allows for a normal attack to hit 4 times. 5 times with Added Cut means that any high offense character will be cleaning up in practically any battle in the game. In all these little tweaks you could make to your Materia setup, I think there's one mechanic in particular that a lot of people overlook, and that is the use of multiple copies, each with their own paired Materia. Say if you had 2 copies of Lightning, one was paired with All and the other was paired with MP Absorb, you could hit all the enemies with a Bolt 3 attack, and also absorb MP from all of them at once. And with this in mind, you can come up with loads of really interesting combinations of effect using Materia. Perhaps the best example I can give of how interesting things can get with Materia are the super bosses Ruby and Emerald weapon. You will almost definitely have to have acquired most of the rarest materia in the game. That means training and breeding chocobos to get a gold chocobo, which can traverse the entire world map. Why? Because these bosses not only have a ludicrous amount of HP, but their moves require thinking outside the box with battle strategies more than any other fight in the game. Emerald Weapon has an attack which deals more damage to characters the more materia they have equipped, and Ruby Weapon can completely remove 2 of your party members from the battle. Very nasty. There are a few strategies, but I'll go through the most popular one that makes use of the Mime Materia, and the most powerful summon in the game, Knights of Round. Mime allows you to replicate the last attack done by one of your characters for no MP cost, meaning if Knights of Round was cast previously, even multiple times if you make use of the W summon materia, it will be cast again for no MP. You could take the time to use this command every turn and make sure your characters are able to heal when necessary, and you'll probably be able to best these super bosses with a couple of attempts. Or you can go to the absolute extreme and set up your materia to automatically bring destruction upon anything that dares touch your character. Because by pairing Mime with Counter and Knights of Round with HP Absorb, allowing the attack to also completely heal you, alongside the aforementioned Phoenix with Final Attack pairing, you can guarantee victory by casting Knights of Round basically every single time anything happens until the enemy is utterly obliterated, and there's nothing they can do as you keep reviving yourself over and over. It takes a lot of time and effort to get all of the materia in the game. Every minute of it is fun, of course. I used to miss out on a lot in some playthroughs before I knew where to find everything and how it all worked. In a way, that's a shame, but thinking about it, it just means my appreciation for Final Fantasy VII has continued to grow the more times I play it. Balance, lore and creativity have made Materia one of the greatest gameplay systems of all time, and if there's any argument to be made for Final Fantasy VII being the masterpiece it is often claimed to be, Materia must be at the very core of that argument. It also remains to be seen whether the FF7 remake can understand and recreate such a deep and expansive system. Will Tetsuya Nomura's team allow for such a level of customization, or will remake's Materia system be a cheap imitation? I've been Jake of the Retro Perspective, thank you very much for watching, hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.